Fourth Ward's community, what is going down? It is your boy Pat. I am back, the mayor of Oakland, the personification of the sad, depressed Raider Nation is here. And this is our week one prediction show for the opening week of the NFL season. We're also going to be getting into some college because I have two college football savants joining me. First and foremost, none other than coming to you with yeah, you know who he is. Our fearless leader, Jeremy Griggs, is here. Jeremy, what's up?
What's up, geeks and gamers? It's Jeremy coming to you with another video. I'm happy to be here. Football season's here. It's the weather is going to get cool very soon. We can rock our hoodies. We can talk some shit. Alabama whoops some ass. Tua's going to win the Heisman. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself. But, yeah, I'm happy to be here.
So, let's not get into that already, damn it.
Let's talk some football. So thank you for having me.
Okay. And, of course, folks, as you see there, our Atlanta Falcon fan, our promotions moderator, no, I'm not going to call him a Packers fan. Aaron, don't kill me. Mr. Brandon Hicks, how are you doing, bro?
I'm doing good, Pat. I'm sorry to hear about your Raiders. Mac got him a good home, got him a good deal. And as far as Tua, don't count your chickens before they hatch, Jeremy. Georgia's doing their thing as well. We're going to see you right there in that game again.
If you can remind me what happened last time Tua played Georgia when they spotted a huge lead, and I can't remember. If you can remind me. All right. Anyway.
Yeah. You guys won, but we didn't have tape on Tua. We weren't ready for the ballsy decision that Saban made. So, hats off to you on that. It won't happen the second time around.
All right. Be careful what don't be careful what you ask for. We'll get into that later. So.
All right. So, in the case, ladies and gents, boys and girls, children of all ages. Yes, I did take that from LaRock for you Cover 3 fans. We got a lot to get into. Obviously, we're going to be diving into some of the premier matchups within week one of the NFL. However, we're going to start with a little bit of college. Now, as most of our faithful fans and some of our newer listeners are going to realize, I enjoy college football, but I'm not the most knowledgeable about it. That's why I very humbly defer to some of these gentlemen here, including the Morgan brothers, who you will hear more from later on. But I am aware that the Alabama Crimson Tide beat Louisville by a final score of 51-14, and quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, did I say it right, Jeremy?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Yes, you did.
Was out there tearing it up. Kids, looking real nice. Jeremy, you're a lifelong Alabama fan. What are your overall thoughts about this matchup?
I said before the season started about a month ago, I said this is probably the most confident I've ever been going into a season as an Alabama fan. And that's saying a lot. I mean, obviously Nick Saban's had stacked teams for, the last decade. And so it's all because of Tua. I mean, don't get me wrong, Alabama's always going to have a great team under Saban. They're always going to have a great recruiting class. We do have a few holes on defense. We got some secondary problems, but I'm sure that we will take care of those issues as the season goes along. But it's Tua. I called for him all last year. I love Jalen Hurts. I think Jalen Hurts is a great guy. I think he's a great leader. I think he's a shit quarterback, but he's a good guy, and he can run the ball. He's a great athlete. He's not a good quarterback. He just isn't. But when you're on Nick Saban's team, you don't have to be a great quarterback. You just have to be someone that doesn't make mistakes, which is what Saban loves. Saban doesn't want a guy. Typically, he wouldn't have a guy like Tua. He wouldn't have a guy who is a high-risk, high-reward type of guy, where I don't really necessarily think he's a high-risk, high-reward, but he does make some decisions that could create turnovers. And Saban hates that type of play. That's why Alabama's always been very conservative on offense, ground and pound, have a game manager at quarterback, things like that. But Tua, to me, and I know people are saying I'm speaking in hyperbole and I'm going off the reservation and all that. I think he has the potential to be one of, if not the best college football players I've ever seen. And to this day, Tim Tebow is the best college football player I've ever seen. Cam Newton had the best. How'd you guys do against Tebow in Georgia? How'd that go?
We won one time.
Huh?
Georgia won one time against Tim Tebow.
One time. And so Cam Newton had the best season I've ever seen in college football, 2010 versus Auburn, or with Auburn. But Tua has it all. The only flaw I see in his game is, like I said, sometimes he does make reckless plays, and we've only seen him for basically 5 quarters right now, and he has made a couple of throws that could have went the wrong way, but luckily his instincts got him there. Alabama has a a stupidly easy schedule this year. This is the easiest schedule I remember Alabama having in a long time. So when you look at the schedule, when you look at the fact Tua would be great anywhere he goes, but he's on Nick Saban's team now. He's surrounded with elite talent, and he is an elite talent. There's no way this guy doesn't win the Heisman if he stays healthy. No way. Not on Nick Saban's team. If he was playing in fucking Toledo, okay, maybe, yeah. He's playing for Nick Saban. He's going to win the Heisman if he stays healthy. He just is. It's not even going to be close. There is not a team on Alabama's schedule that can compete with them until Auburn, realistically. Sure, we've got LSU. That's always a tough game. Tennessee is going to be a tough game. Auburn, that's it. And then we're probably going to play Georgia in the SEC championship if we can get past Auburn. Auburn's going to be a tough game. But outside of that, Alabama has nobody this year to play them. So I'm excited. I'm hyped. I couldn't be more ecstatic. So. Okay,
Brandon, let's get the resident Bulldog fan, well, for this podcast at least. Let's get your perspective.
I will say this: Alabama, they showed me a lot. Yeah, a couple flaws on defense, Jeremy. You're right, but nothing to cry home about. Tua looked incredible. As far as your decision-making process that you were talking about, where he does make some errant throws, that first touchdown pass that he threw as he was being chased around in the pocket, he kind of let that one fly a little bit.
Dangerous. Yeah, it was a dangerous throw.
Very much. Any third-round cornerback probably would have been able to recognize that, but nobody on Louisville would even touch that. But the one thing that scares me is this kid – correct me if I'm wrong, he's sophomore this year, right?
Yes.
This kid has the pump fake to perfection. He showed it in the Alabama-Georgia national title game. He showed it a lot in the Louisville game. Even when he threw that beautiful pass right at the end of half to Judy in the back of the end zone, it gave me nightmares because it was similar to that Georgia pass. But other than that, I mean, this kid, he's going to be spectacular. Do I think he'll win the Heisman? I think that's a little stretch. He does have a surefire shoe-in with him being under Saban. Alabama has, like you said, easy schedule. Don't know how they were granted that when Georgia has a very tough schedule, but that's neither here nor there. I do think that Alabama has the very best team in the SEC West. But like you said, we'll know when they play Georgia, because I watched the Auburn game. I'm not too impressed with Auburn this year.
Yeah, I expected Auburn to handle Washington, and I know Washington was ranked higher. Fuck Washington, they suck. I expected Auburn to really handle them, and they didn't. They couldn't. They could never really get any momentum, but they won the game. So Washington, you put Washington against Alabama or Georgia, that would have been a slaughter.
Now Washington next year,
I think even LSU could have whooped them.
Yeah, but Washington next year, remember, Eason transferred back home. Eason, with it being his senior year next year, he may be something special to watch in Washington.
It's true. But, yeah, that's it. That's, it's kind of the gist of it. Bama's looking good. College football season's off to a good start. So,
all right, well, they definitely are, by all accounts, even for someone like me, the premier, college franchise. So I expect them to garner a lot of attention, particularly in those major matchups. Moving right along to the other kind of marquee college game from the start of the college football season, the LSU Tigers basically humiliated the Miami Hurricanes 33-17. And from the little bit of this game that I saw and then the highlights that I went back and visited, it wasn't even as close as the final score would indicate that it was. Brandon, what do you make of the Tigers going and making shop with Miami?
LSU's defense looks very, very good under Orgeron. I expected him to be good this year. I didn't catch who the running back is. Jeremy, by chance, do you know who the running back is at LSU?
I don't.
All I know is they're already saying, guys, who? Because this kid blew off, I think, a 49-yarder. He shed about 12 different tackles in 2 separate plays. LSU is good. My take on them, I see them going probably about 9-3 this season. 2 of those losses coming from Bama and Georgia. But as far as Miami goes, Miami has a lot of work to do, especially with Rozier at quarterback. He is a decent quarterback. He will never be good. Mark Richt should have known better getting into the fire. I put LSU first on the schedule. You want premier money, that's fine, but you didn't live up to it.
Yeah,
that's pretty much it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, it's to me, it's typical ACC fool's gold. I mean, it's real good when you can play Duke, and we're not talking about basketball Duke. Okay, we're talking about football Duke. So it's really easy to beat up on them.
Oh, you mean those trash Duke bums? Oh, them.
Yep.
And so, I do think Clemson is a legitimate team. They bring legitimate talent to the table every year. They've proven it against Alabama multiple times. They've proven it against SEC multiple times. But outside of that, I don't have any respect for ACC teams when they're matching up against the SEC. I just don't. And I love Mark Richt. I think he's a great guy. I pull for him. He was great at Georgia. I know he never quite got over the hump. You know this better than me, Brandon. But
Yep.
It just comes down to I don't think LSU will be an elite SEC team this year. But when you put them up against an overrated ACC team, what was Miami ranked 8th? I think preseason.
Yeah.
And LSU was LSU was 25th, and I don't think LSU will. I like Ed how you say it?
Orgeron.
Yeah. Ed Orgeron. I love him. He's such a great guy. I love him, man. He's the best. He reminds me of the coach off Waterboy. He reminds me of the coach on Waterboy. He's a good dude. I think they have a stout defense, but when they play teams like Alabama and Auburn, I'm not sure if you guys have them on the schedule this year.
Georgia?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So that's where you're going to find out that they're good when you put them up against overrated ACC teams, but I don't think they're ready to be up there with the elite SEC teams. So, I'm so glad that they smacked Miami around, shut that door. Our boy Chaz was in Sports Wars group saying we want Bama. Mofo,
don't start.
Yeah,
don't
you
start.
can't even handle a 25th ranked LSU. You don't want
Oh,
okay?
boy.
So, but that's what happens, So go ahead.
I mean, it's bad. Like, as far as the competition for LSU this year, as far as where I see them on Georgia's level, when they say that the hardest 2 teams that we're going to have to play this year is other than 3 teams, Auburn, Missouri, and South Carolina, they discredit LSU completely. And there's no reason why. There's no reason to guess why. You're going to see that in coming weeks when SEC play actually begins for them. They're going to struggle. They're saying they may even struggle against Tennessee. And correct me if I'm wrong, Tennessee got smacked around by West Virginia.
Oh yeah, bad. So,
all right. Well, as I expected from you guys, a lot of spirited enthusiasm around the NCAA football season. I'm slowly but surely trying to learn more as I'm, around you guys. You guys are excellent resources for people like me who aren't super well versed in it. But yeah, this is a part of a show where we can move along to a segment where LaRock will actually listen and pay attention, because we're going to move right along into week 1 of the National Football League.
Well,
so,
hey,
of course,
I want to apologize because I don't know if you guys hear the thunder, but I mean, it's moving in. It's bad here because here in Florida, we got that system moving in, that hurricane. So hopefully it won't distract too much from our audio. Can you guys hear it on your end?
No.
I can't, no.
Okay, good. Okay, it's loud. So, all right, go ahead.
Well, in any case, of course, the season is going to open this Thursday night in Philadelphia as the reigning Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles open up their season against the Atlanta Falcons. Now, just to get everyone up to speed, Nick Foles has been named the official starter because Carson Wentz has not been cleared for physical contact. I think the latest is that they're expecting him to return maybe around week 3 or 4. Also, unspoken hero on defense, Nigel Bradham, is currently out on suspension, and their number 1 receiver, Alshon Jeffrey, is out with a shoulder injury. Atlanta, on the other hand, is fully healthy. is in year 2 of Steve Sarkisian's system, and they're probably looking for a little bit of revenge. They're probably looking to, spoil the raising of Philadelphia's first Super Bowl banner. Brandon, how are you feeling about this matchup?
Well, in the off season, I traded that defensive line was going to be scarier, especially with Bradham coming back, as well as with them adding Michael Bennett. As everything unfolded down the stretch coming to the season opener, I'm calling for Atlanta by 10. Everything with Alshon Jeffrey, with Nick Foles at the helm, their defense is good. It's not that good. Their secondary is still not that high on the chain to speak of. And when OTA started, the first thing, as I wanted them to do, the first thing Atlanta got into was the 2-minute 20 inside the 20 red zone offense. They wanted to work it to where Julio had multiple attempts. They worked on the catching. Everything that I'm seeing as far as with the training camp preseason, every bit of it. Atlanta is looking for revenge. They're looking to show that Philly never should have been there. And I'm honestly not scared of Philly. I'm not. Nobody is. Roy's already even made mention of it. When you have a quarterback like Foles who wins the Super Bowl and everybody's talking about Wentz coming back, nobody cares about Wentz coming back in Philly. If Wentz was playing this week 1, I'd be more scared, but I'm not. I honestly don't see, and I hate to bring this up, Jeremy, but I think it's going to be kind of similar to Kansas City, New England last year. Atlanta is going to push and run the ball down their throat. You're going to see a heavy dose of Tevin Coleman. You're going to see a heavy dose of Devontae Freeman. You're going to see Ridley on an out route, Julio on a fade, every bit of it. Hooper is even going to get involved. And to me, I am not afraid of them. I can't stress it enough.
Okay. Jeremy, curious as to your thoughts on the season opening.
First of all, fuck Philadelphia. No, but I really me and Brandon are on the same page here. I feel like this is a one of these situations where Philadelphia is coming in and they're going to be a little more overconfident. They're going to they're coming off the high of being Super Bowl champions. They've been running their mouth a little bit during the offseason. They're feeling themselves. Nick Foles is not an elite quarterback. Just Belichick's defense sucked in the Super Bowl. And I think Atlanta's coming in with a chip on their shoulder because Atlanta has been coming in as that preseason favorite for the last few years, to win the NFC and represent. And I think Atlanta is coming in there with that chip on their shoulder, and I think they're going to smack Philly right in the mouth. I think Philly's going to be caught up in the moment, and I think Atlanta's going to be focused, laser focused. And I disagree with Brandon on one part where I think that Atlanta's not going to ground and pound. I think they're going to throw it through the air. I think Julio and Matt Ryan, who is a slightly better version of Andy Dalton, I think that they're going to light it up. So, but I'm definitely on Atlanta all easily. I think Atlanta takes this game and takes it pretty easily. I think Philly's getting smacked in the mouth because they're not ready for what's coming, and they're going to be feeling themselves too much. So,
okay. Fair assessment, gentlemen. Where I'm at with this whole matchup is with this. Any type of complex offensive scheme is going to take time. We've seen it in Atlanta before. The first year with Shanahan, shit wasn't really clicking for them like that. And just like last year, in the first year of Steve Sarkisian, it was good, but it just wasn't quite that fine-tuned. So square up an Atlanta team with all of the emotional motivation on top of the fact that they now have a much better grasp of what's going on offensively against a defense that, yes, does have a very stout pass rush and linebacking core, but in the secondary, you have one elite piece in Malcolm Jenkins, and the rest of the guys are kind of a coin flip. Jalen Mills has been known to bite on double moves. Rodney McLeod is a talented guy, but he's pretty small for a safety. Darby.
Up there in age.
Yeah, Darby had a bunch of almost interceptions last year and in the Super Bowl and in the preseason. I have a very, very difficult time not seeing Atlanta airing it out. And I think the run games honestly are going to be almost irrelevant because they're going to be passing it. I think Philly is going to be in a position where the score is going to get crazy on them, and they're going to have to abandon the run altogether and just start throwing up prayers to Aguilar and Ernst.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at.
I mean, especially when they also – what are they down – they lost Torrey Smith in the offseason. I don't know if they picked – do they even have another wide receiver other than Aguilar?
They basically are going to be moving guys who are kind of on the back burner in terms of a depth chart from last year into more of a prominent role. So we have to see if these cats are ready to step up and play.
The biggest thing that gets me on this is Atlanta has the biggest motivation right now. We have Super Bowl 53. Is it 52 or 53?
53.
53 in Atlanta this season. We want to be the first team. We want to be what Minnesota couldn't do last season. So we are hungry, and we're going to show it week 1.
All right, well, moving right along, our next matchup is going to be the San Francisco 49ers against the aforementioned Minnesota Vikings. Now, the Niners are starting Jimmy G as their quarterback for his first full season as a starter within the NFL. But they have already been ravaged by injuries, most notably running back Jared McKinnon. The Vikings, on the other hand, are starting a new campaign with their new man, Kirk Cousins, new offensive coordinator John DeFilippo from the Philadelphia Eagles, a healthy Dalvin Cook, and one of the most loaded rosters in the league, top to bottom. Jeremy, what are your thoughts on this 49ers-Vikings matchup?
Yeah, I definitely think that Vikings are right there with the Rams, probably the best top to bottom roster in football right now, which is crazy. It's crazy we're at a point where the Vikings and the Rams are among the elite teams. But I do think the Vikings are stacked. I like Jimmy G a lot. I think Jimmy –
No, not at all.
So, well, hey, I'm not as bad as LaRock, okay? But I like Jimmy G.
Oh, God.
Solid quarterback, but – I'm feeling that this dude's being overrated like crazy right now.
And overpaid.
Overpaid big time. The media is obsessed with him. We all knew this. He's got the look. He's got the look they like to market. He's hanging out with porn stars, which no hate, man. I mean, that's all good. I mean, who wouldn't?
He just got signed by Jordan Brand.
And he just got signed by Jordan Brand. I mean, I feel like, goddamn, like, his numbers aren't that good. Like, if you look at his numbers, they're really not that great. So I think he's going to be an okay quarterback. I don't think he's ever going to be elite. I don't think he's ever going to be, Drew Brees or anything like that. But I think he could be a slightly better version of Andy Dalton. It's like
oh, God.
I had to do it.
Be a slightly better version of Tim Tebow.
Wolf.
But, yeah, so I think Jimmy G's coming into this game. A lot of offseason hype. A lot of things are in his head. And I think he's going to walk into like a buzzsaw, basically, with the Vikings. I think the Vikings are enthusiastic. They've got a new quarterback. I think Kirk Cousins, again, I don't think Kirk Cousins will ever be elite, but I do think he's a pretty good quarterback, and he's on a great team right now. I think the Vikings take this one easily. And I think Jimmy G ends up having a bad game and looks pretty rough. And then all of a sudden, First Take and Undisputed is going to be asking, is Jimmy G overrated? Because that's what they do. So that's what I think is going to happen.
Stephen A. Smith's going to have a handful on this one.
Yeah.
Oh, we just might get to his ass later. Brandon, your thoughts on this matchup?
I completely agree with Jeremy on this one. I honestly believe that this is going to be a cakewalk for Minnesota. The only thing that San Francisco has, I mean, with them losing McKinnon, they're going to be running Alfred Morris as your start running back. Yeah, he knows Shanahan's scheme, but I'm saying over/under on 4 sacks right now against Jimmy G. That Minnesota defense is
Thank you.
Lights out. I think Xavier Rhodes will pick him off at least once, and I don't want it to seem like Jimmy G is going to be crucified for this, but definitely he will make a headline on First Take. He'll make a headline on the Coward Show, everything. It's going to be horrific what they're going to say about him.
It'll be ugly.
Yeah, per
I will say
usual
this.
with
I will say this.
ahead.
If he shows up, can you imagine how the media is going to react if he shows up and throws for like 3 or 4 touchdowns, 350 yards on this defense? Can you imagine what the defense is going to? I mean,
Well, yeah. I mean, if that happens, then he's just gonna go back to being the heir apparent to Tom Brady, the next,
Right.
Tom Brady, this,
Oh,
that,
yeah.
and third. That's
Then
the
he deserves the contract, everything's coming
Yeah.
with it.
well,
No,
and see, that's the thing. This is a defining game for him, which is kind of crazy. It shouldn't be, but it's because of the overreaction to him. Like, he should be coming into this going, all right, he's gonna get his feel for being a starter from the beginning of the season. He was in preseason. He's getting chemistry with the team, and if he struggles, he struggles. It shouldn't be a big deal. But the problem is the pedestal they've already put him on. He's either going to be crucified, like Brandon said, or he's going to be the next Tom Brady after week 1. That's just
and it's where you mentioned, Jeremy, as far as with his numbers go, about him being a quarterback. In his 6 starts, they showed his numbers, and Nick Wright pointed this out. Funny enough, in his 6 starts, mirror that of the last 6 starts of the last San Francisco quarterback. His numbers are worse than Colin Kaepernick's. And he's getting paid more than any other quarterback.
Yeah.
Wait, whoa, stop. Hold on. You mean to tell me Nick Wright spoke about someone other than LeBron James?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. I witnessed it.
Oh, man, stop the presses. No,
Breaking news.
no, but I feel where you guys are coming from. Now, listen. It would be a real stereotypical trope for me as the Raiders guy to come in and just pile and shit on the Niners, right? Because that's a real, expected thing. Oh, they hate you. Fuck that.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by matchups. You guys know this. And for my money, San Francisco's O-line isn't that great, but it's week 1. They're going to be fully healthy. They should be able to pull out a decent performance even against a lethal pass rush with guys like Linval Joseph there. However, the pass rush, if I'm Jimmy G, is the least of my worries. My worries are Trey Waynes and Xavier Rhodes and Sendejo. That Vikings secondary, every single guy.
Smith.
Yeah.
You can't leave out Harrison Smith.
Harrison Smith's tackling against Philly was kind of poor, but we can get into that later. Every single one of those guys outside of maybe Waynes is a Pro Bowler. And Waynes is at least a serviceable guy. I'd say he's probably better than Ronald Darby in terms of one-on-one matchups.
Oh, 100%.
And Jimmy G is a guy who, albeit he has a good arm, he reads defenses pretty well, but if there's one Achilles heel with him in terms of what I've seen, his footwork needs a lot of refining. He doesn't always get that good plant of his back foot to get the transfer of energy to throw a really smooth pass. So against that secondary, where they're running zone, where they're running man, you said Xavier Rhodes might pick him off once. All 4 of those guys might pick him off once if he doesn't get that footwork right. And if he's tap dancing around and the pocket is not that great, it could get ugly.
Yeah, very, very quickly. And the line on that game, I looked it up. It's 6 points. I'd be willing to take Minnesota in the points. I think they're going to steamroll.
Yeah, that's probably a pretty safe risk of your money, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Now, moving right along, we have America's team, the Dallas Cowboys, versus Jeremy's favorite team, the Carolina Panthers. Cam Newton and Christian McCaffrey are heading a North Turner architect, I don't know if that's a word, offense, and they're bringing that heavy front 7 defense against a Dallas team that in my view, doesn't really have much of an identity right now outside of Zeke, outside of the O-line, and outside of good young pass rushers like Randy Gregory and DeMarcus Lawrence. Jeremy, what are your feelings about Cam versus Dak?
Well, I disagree with you that the Cowboys don't have an identity. I think with Zeke and Dak, I mean, they definitely have an identity with those two guys, and those two guys bring a lot to the table. Obviously, struggled without Zeke. Zeke might be one of, if not the best running backs in the NFL, especially for his team. I mean, he definitely makes a big difference when he's in the game, and having him back. I think Dak is another one that's been a little overhyped. I think Dak's a good quarterback. I followed him in college. He was a solid quarterback in college. He's got the size. I think that when Zeke is in the backfield, I think that makes his life a lot easier as a quarterback. And so as long as those two guys, it's almost like, and don't take – I'm just making the comparison, so don't think – but it's kind of like with New England. As long as you got Brady and Belichick, they're going to be, contenders. I think when you have Zeke and Dak together, that makes the Cowboys at least relevant and doesn't necessarily make them a Super Bowl team or anything like that, but they're going to be in the mix. So I think the Zeke and Dak are their identity right now. And as long as the two guys are together, I think one like Dak would not be successful without Zeke, whereas Zeke could be successful without Dak. But I think they both complement each other. And from that perspective, fuck Carolina. So, I will be interested. I will be interested to see how Carolina does. I'm losing confidence in them. I mean, look, as much as I don't like Cam Newton, I don't know why. Why would I not like Cam Newton? I don't.
I can't. I have no idea.
Figure out why.
But
I like last year. I figured with Christian McCaffrey, who could be, a Wes Welker type from the backfield, or an Edelman from the backfield. I figured with Cam and his amazing athletic ability, I figured they were going to figure out a way to utilize that better. Now, again, McCaffrey, rookie season, he's not the biggest guy. Maybe it just needs to take some time for them to get the chemistry down, but I thought that would be a bigger impact that we would have saw. Much like Reggie Bush in the early days. Remember Reggie Bush came in. I mean, Reggie Bush, for all of his amazing running ability in college, he's actually was a more effective receiver out of the backfield when he was, early in his first few years. And that's McCaffrey has that ability. So I don't think Carolina is necessarily DOA. I think Carolina has a chance. They have the pieces. Cam has talent, but I just don't ever think he's going to become that elite leader that a lot of people thought he would be after he had his first two games where he threw for 400 yards. And so, I've got the Cowboys in this one. I think as long as Dak and Zeke are together, man, the Cowboys are going to make some noise. So.
Okay. I can see where you're coming from in terms of, their identity. Brandon, with you being a huge fan of the Falcons in the NFC South, what's your perspective on Carolina taking on Dallas?
Well, you're a matchups guy, right, Pat?
Yes.
You say that Dallas doesn't have that much of a pass rush. They're not going to need that much in this game. You got to think about it. Carolina's already lost 2 offensive linemen this year. That they're going to be one's going to be out for the entire season. The other one's on the PUP list.
It's isn't it like Matt Khalil and that other guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, in my opinion, if Cam isn't going to be able to watch his own blind side, which they're going to be running a lot of, you'll see a lot of 2 running back sets. You'll have C.J. Anderson on the left, and you'll have McCaffrey on the right trying to help with that offensive line. The Cowboys secondary, still nothing to write home about, but going against Funchess, not really worried about it. Going against Olsen, Sean Lee's healthy. He's got a chance. My biggest concern is whoever they're going to put on DJ Moore. This kid has every bit of the ability that they say he does. And he could shine and do some serious numbers. Aside from that, as far as Dallas goes, my rookie of the year that I'm calling for, Michael Gallup. This kid is going to be sensational. Line him up. You also got Allen Hurns, who's coming off of the injury, who should have another breakout year. Zeke in that backfield, and you have Cole Beasley. And you added Tavon Austin, who is not outside of his wonder years. He can still burn. So if they have any luck in this season, it is to run a 4 wide receiver set. You could throw Beasley, throw Hearns, Gallup, and Austin out there in the fold, and let Beasley and Austin run the under routes, and they could do some damage. I don't think that Carolina's defense – we're going to see just how battle-driven they are when they go up against Zeke this first game, because that line did get better. The secondary did get a little bit better, but I want to see how they do against a very good offensive line of Dallas and see if Zeke can run over them. Because if that's the case, Carolina's going to fold for the rest of the season.
Okay. Well, as far as my thoughts, let me kind of clarify a little bit more. My issue or my sense that Dallas doesn't have too much of an identity is that they are the one team in the league that I honestly can't figure out. I know for a lot of people that team is the Ravens. I know for a lot of people that team is the Seahawks or the Cardinals, where you feel like they could either go 11-5 or 5-11. For me, that team is Dallas. And the main reason is that receiving core, albeit, they do have decent potential on paper. They're not the worst. But that receiving core to me is a bunch of guys who are kind of just at an okay level. Now, I realize that Dak has some pretty good chemistry with Cole Beasley. But, Cole Beasley to me is like a great value brand Julian Edelman. Yeah, he's quick. He takes a lot of stuff underneath, but he's about 25 pounds underweight. Edelman has the muscle to take hits from, the Cam Chancellors of the world. Beasley, if you catch him in the middle just at the right spot, I feel like he could potentially go down because he's not young. Allen Hurns, is decent. Tavon Austin, he's still, like you say, can burn. But when that Dallas receiving core goes up against the more stout secondaries in the league, I feel like they're going to get locked up. And then it automatically becomes one-dimensional with trying to pound the ball with Zeke. So I have this game as I won't say it's kind of a coin flip. I could see it going either way. But just in terms of more dynamic plays being made, I think I have to give the edge to Carolina. And last but not least, you guys are going to have to give me a little bit of a moment here. The Chicago Bears and the Green Bay Packers.
Oh, Mohawk silence.
Khalil Mack is now a member of the Chicago Bears.
No. I got a better one for you. Hang on. Here we go. How do I say goodbye?
One out for you, homie.
Shout out to Boys to Men. Amazing.
Shout out to Bone Thugs. Without going too much into detail, ladies and gentlemen, I'll go ahead and break my silence on the whole thing, or at least break my silence in podcast form. From an emotional standpoint, yes, I am devastated. From a rational standpoint, it sucks right now, but in the long run, decisions have to be made, and that's all I'm going to touch on it for now. You may be seeing an individual video from me later on for me to speak more in volume, but yeah, that's where I'm at.
We need an individual video on you for this.
Yeah.
Right. Now, in terms of this actual matchup, Khalil Mack is joining Roquan Smith, one of the best college defenders out of the draft. And this very well could cement a very lethal defense for the Chicago Bears, whose defense was already pretty solid. And in the NFC, that's saying a lot because we all know the NFC is the home of all the most loaded rosters. Now, as for our folks over there in Green Bay, Roy's favorite, Jeremy's favorite, Aaron Rodgers now has a new weapon in the form of Jimmy Graham. And Green Bay drafted a few solid corners because they don't play the free agency game. And they still have not much of a run game to speak of, and a receiving core made up of a bunch of guys who do their jobs, no pun intended, New England fans. But let's be honest, would any of those receivers start in Atlanta or Pittsburgh? No.
No.
Jeremy, what are your thoughts on Mitch Trubisky and company versus Aaron Rodgers and company?
I want to make a bold prediction here. If the Bears, and I do feel the Bears have the pieces now to be a major player, and this is a tough division. This might be, I mean, I have to think about it. This might be the best division in football right now from top to bottom. I mean, you got Minnesota, you got Green Bay, you've got Chicago now with Khalil Mack. I mean, even Detroit's not bad. That's, I mean, am I
Detroit's
wrong?
not bad at all.
I mean,
Yeah, so-
NFC South, if Tampa could get their shit together, but yeah, I see where you're going with this, Jeremy.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to say, so I think so.
Lord.
Here's my bold prediction. If Chicago wins this game and comes out of the gate, if they've got it together out of the gate, Green Bay will finish third in this division and not make the playoffs. You got Minnesota. You think they're going to finish ahead of Minnesota? If Chicago brings it this year, Green Bay ain't making the playoffs. You know what I mean? So I want to see Chicago come out with all the talent. They've got the talent. Trubisky's actually pretty good. Again, he may be a better version of Andy Dalton at some point, and that's as high as he'll go.
You can't help yourself, can you? You gotta sneak that in.
I'm sorry. I'll
Is
stop.
is there no other like middle of the road quarterback you can use to make these analogies?
To me, that's like the best you can say about somebody that where you can't like they're never going to be in the Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Drew Brees category. They're not quite Big Ben, you know. So Matt Ryan's kind of that next level for me, you know.
We'll touch on Big Ben here in a minute. We'll go there.
But yes, I am. But now, with that said, now if Chicago shows up and beats down Green Bay, then I think Green Bay is going to finish third this year. With that said, I am going to pick Green Bay to win this game. I think Aaron Rodgers is motivated. I think he understands.
LaRock is cringing somewhere. Go ahead.
I think Aaron Rodgers understands that his window is closing right now. He just got paid the biggest contract in what is NFL history for a quarterback now.
It's NFL history, period.
NFL history. So, you know, I think that Green Bay is going to come out and they're going to make some noise in this opening game. But I'm saying this with uncertainty because I want to see how the chemistry works with Chicago. I know Aaron Morris is excited. Chicago seems like, if not this year, by next year, it seems like they may be getting their shit together and be getting in position. And it's hurting Pat so bad. Because last year that was his Raiders. You know, that's what it felt like with his Raiders. It's like they're on the cusp. And so
oh God, I'm gonna throw up.
But you got Chucky now. You got Chucky. So anyway, I'm picking Green Bay. But I'm really interested to see Chicago and how they play and how they are all coming together with all of this new talent they're bringing in. I want to see how Trubisky has developed into his second season, and it's truly his team now. Chicago, man, the Bears might be back, so we'll see. But I'm going with Green Bay.
Okay, Brandon.
You know, it's no secret. Light's been shed that I like the Packers. Obviously, even when we mentioned about the games that we're going to be talking about, Aaron Morris was laughing at the fact that we're going to be talking about this game. I said it in the chat. I'll say it now. I am calling a hot take. Chicago takes week one. Nagy is a brilliant offensive mind. I love the combination that he's going to throw with Howard and Cohen in there. You have Taylor Gabriel. You have this new kid, Anthony Miller, who's going to do something special. You have Allen Robinson. I'm not too fond on him, but he still has potential to help make a splash. And then you got Trey Burton. And Jeremy, you remember Trey Burton, right?
Florida.
He did do something. Well, and he did do something in that little game back in February, the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The defense.
Don't make me bring up Tua in the national championship.
Oh, come on now! At least
I have taken 5 shots at Matt Ryan, so you
yeah, you have. So and I've let him go up until now. Love's coming off, damn it. But that defense for Chicago, to me, that offensive line is still questionable in Green Bay. Yes, you added Jimmy Graham. You're going to be running Geronimo Allison, Randall Cobb, Devontae Adams is your 3 receiver set. You got Ty Montgomery spelling out with Jamal Williams in the backfield. And, of course, we know the baddest man on the planet, Aaron Rodgers, is back there. But nonetheless, their defense still suspect. Yeah, they added Muhammad Wilkerson in the offseason. We all missed that because Wilkerson's past his prime. But Clay Matthews is right there with him. To me, this game is going to come down to the trenches, and I think Chicago is going to dominate on both sides of the ball. They have a line on this one as 8 points given to Chicago. I would take gladly Chicago in the points. I think Chicago wins by 3. It'll be a close game, but I think that offense is going to come out hot. And I don't think that Rodgers is going to have enough to come back from it.
Oh, I hope you're right.
That defense is going to put him on his ass.
I hope you're right.
Especially Mac.
I will gladly be wrong about this one. I want Aaron Rodgers to throw for – what did he do against Denver a few years ago where he threw for like 48 yards? You know, Mr. Greatest quarterback that's ever lived.
48 yards, 3 interceptions, and 1 was a pick six.
So I hope you're right.
You know what? To hell with it. I'll go ahead and throw my boy Aaron a bone. And I, as you guys saw in the Sports Wars thread, I did speak with him on the phone and congratulate him on the acquisition. I'll go ahead and give them the nod. I think they could sneak up on an unsuspecting Green Bay and get that win. I'm still going to be depressed watching the highlights, but that's neither here nor there. Now, moving right along to the American Football Conference. And, oh, looky here, we're talking about that team up in Boston first off. We have the New England Patriots, who are led by this guy who was drafted way late and then won a shit ton of games, versus the Houston Texans, who are led by a young man who our resident Patriots fan doesn't think is all that good, Deshaun Watson.
First of all, that ain't me, though. That's LaRock they're talking about.
Oh, I said resident Patriots
I know. I just wanted to make sure.
Not resident Brady fan.
I get it. I just wanted to clarify.
Calm your tits. Yeah. Right? But yeah, we this is a pretty bitchin' matchup to be a week 1 starter. Obviously, we know what New England's pedigree is. We all know, Tom Brady's going to be Tom Brady no matter what. You could be playing on another fucking planet. He's probably going to throw for like 5 touchdowns. But the Texans' defense is nothing to sneeze at. You got J.J. Watt coming back healthy. You got Merciless. They added the Honey Badger, and I feel like no one is really talking about that. Like, this guy is not an Earl Thomas, Malcolm Jenkins level free safety. Patriots are going to be missing Julian Edelman on a suspension, and they have had all kinds of back and forth shit going on in terms of their receiving core, cutting Stills, cutting Matthews. What are your thoughts on this game, Brady fan Jeremy?
This is going to be a really interesting game. This might be the game of the week. This might be the best matchup. You guys know how high I am on Deshaun Watson. I think he has potential to be a top 5 quarterback in the next few years. I'm such a big fan of him. I think the Texans have put some pieces around him. Bill O'Brien is, I think, a good coach. And I don't know, man, because you bring up good points because I dismissed a lot of the New England stuff last year. But after the Super Bowl, I do feel like that there was something between Brady and Belichick that I think Brady was pissed. I do. I think I dropped 500 yards. And we still can't win because you're doing a grumpy benching of people. You know what I'm saying? It's
are you reopening wait and see?
Huh?
Are you reopening wait and see?
Oh, wait and see was irrelevant. That never happened. It never happened. But like I said, the situation in the Super Bowl, that did create a rift, in my opinion, with Brady and Belichick. You know, like Belichick, your job is supposed to be the defense. And Brady's like, I did my job. You know, I might have looked like a baby deer when I dropped that pass, but that's not my job. You know, like my job is to throw touchdowns and 500-something yards. I broke a Super Bowl record for the second year in a row. And the defense was so bad against Nick Foles, Napoleon Dynamite, you know, like, come on. So I think that created some tension with Brady and Belichick. I really do. I think that Brady looked at that and said, you know, at some point, man, you know what I mean? Like, help me out here, you know? And benching Malcolm Butler, the way it happened, I think that created some locker room tension with the team. I think probably, obviously, Brady is obviously the leader of the locker room. I'm sure a lot of people talked to Brady about that. I'm sure that created some tension between Brady and Belichick, and I feel like Kraft had to step in. So all of that, there's all that drama, stuff with Brady's trainer. Brady's gone full Cam Newton this year in his press conferences now. Every time they ask him about his trainer, he walks off. So I do think that there is some tension within the locker room, and I think that Deshaun Watson, coming off that injury, coming off what looked to be a surefire Rookie of the Year season and a potential NFL MVP season in his first year, I think that damn it, I don't know. I don't know, man. I may be going with my heart, but I'm going with New England. But I think that this is going to be a hell of a good matchup, And I think Deshaun Watson is not going to disappoint. I think he's going to come out and he's going to show that he is a superstar in the making. And but I'm going to I can't – and I know without Edelman, you would think that's going to be a problem for New England, but is it ever a problem for Brady when he's missing receivers? No. You know, whether he's missing Gronk, where Wes Welker gets traded, Edelman gets injured, whatever, Edelman's suspended for PEDs, Brady will figure it out, you know. And I do think this is probably Brady's weakest receiving core. He'll figure it out. He's always had a weak receiving core by default, you know. So I'm picking New England in a high-scoring game. I don't think Belichick's defense is going through some problems right now. So, yeah, high-scoring game. I'm taking New England in a close one. I'll say 35-31.
Okay. Brandon?
You know, I look at this matchup. I look at last year's game where Deshaun Watson was at his peak, and they pushed New England to the limit. New England actually had an identity on defense at that point. They don't this year. And that's very scary because it's, you know, Belichick being such a great defensive mind that they're not really doing anything. You're going to have matchups like Nuke versus Eric Rowe, with an overhead of what, Chung. I'm not big on Deshaun Watson in terms of I'd rather kind of quote unquote wait and see what he's going to do coming off of this injury. But I still think it is going to be a high scoring game. I think that defense of Houston is the Houston defense could be a potential nightmare this season. And if they start out right out the gate, New England's going to be quick to find out, and Brady's going to find himself on his ass. Because that offensive line, they lost Isaiah Wynn. You got rid of Solder. That offensive line hasn't really improved. And that defense has just gotten better. And J.J. Watt coming back, he's out to prove something. And
overrated.
I honestly – oh, come on now. Really? J.J. Watt?
I know. He donated to charity, so he's the greatest football player ever. Like, I mean, he's fine. He's not a – I'm not saying he's bad, but my God. Like, what has he ever – what difference has he ever made in –
Jeremy, I'll take J.J. Watt in a second. Go ahead, Brandon.
I'm not saying he's the greatest defensive player to ever grace the game by any means, but I do think with him, Jadeveon Clowney, Merciless, Honey Badger being added to the fold, you still have Joseph in the mix. That defense is ready to pounce, and they are looking for retribution against New England. I wouldn't be surprised if it is a close game, but it will be high scoring. I do think Houston takes week one, though, especially with it being in New England. They're ready for this week.
Okay. This is where I'm at. Do I personally believe J.J. Watt is overrated to an extent? Yes, I do. So that's one of the 20 things out of a billion that Jeremy and I agree on.
Well, and let me clarify. Overrated doesn't mean bad. I mean, some people think it means somebody's bad. That's why I say Aaron Rodgers is overrated. He's obviously great. He's obviously great. But when I hear people consistently saying he's the best quarterback in the NFL, he's not, and he never has been. And by that, I mean he's overrated. You know, it's just like when I said Steph Curry was overrated because they said he was better than LeBron. Steph Curry's great, but he's not.
Basically, dense people can't interpret what overrated is. But all of us have a good grasp on it.
Well, I know. I just want to clarify.
Yeah, no problem. J.J. Watt, obviously, is he an elite defensive player? Yes. Is he a pretty solid dude who I, gained some respect for when I wasn't really a fan of his persona with the whole Hurricane Harvey relief? Yes, he's a solid dude. But even from early on, years ago, when Houston wasn't really doing anything within the grand scheme of a postseason outside of making it there, despite not having consistency at quarterback, J.J. Watt was always pumped up and shown through the media as this big personality within the NFL who was on the same level as a Brady or a Rodgers or a Big Ben or whoever else. It's like, dude, he's a good pass rusher. He's not like someone who is really going to turn the game one way or the other.
Reggie White. He ain't Reggie White. You know what I mean? Like, he's not that all-timer. He's a really good player. He's really good,
Now, with all that being said, this whole AFC South versus New England stuff, I picked New England to go 1-1 for the first 2 weeks. Whether they lose to Houston or whether they lose to Jacksonville, to me, at this point, is a coin flip. Now, I do think that Houston is a much more talented team, but it's very hard to win in Foxborough. Jacksonville isn't as talented, but New England is going to be down there in that smoldering Florida humidity in the middle of September. If you look at their track record with some of their games down in Miami the last few years, they usually lose. Matchup-wise, this Houston defense is going to have a rare opportunity to show out. Now, Jeremy, you mentioned that the receiving core isn't all that great, and yeah, they're not. But if you have number 87 healthy, it honestly doesn't matter. But if they can get Honey Badger and the rest of those guys in that secondary to really hone in on Gronk and limit him, it could get ugly. Just for argument's sake, I probably still do have New England in a close one with the victory. But like I said, if they win that game, I think they lose the next to Jacksonville.
Very good possibility.
That's where I'm at. Now this Jeremy character that we got here has been running his mouth the whole show about Andy Dalton this, Andy Dalton that, Andy Dalton. Well, damn it! Now it's time to actually talk about Andy Dalton, fucker. Because next up we got the Bengals versus the Colts. Andy Dalton and a healthy Tyler Eifert and AJ Green. Now, Jeremy, remind me what school AJ Green went to?
Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And listen to this. Do you want to talk about hot takes? Okay. Out of college, I predicted that AJ Green would be better than Julio. I did.
Yeah.
I did.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah, I did.
Versus,
I would say definitely that Julio's had the better career at this point, but they're both great.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be the Bengals versus a returning, and for Colin Cowherd's sake, hopefully a resurging Andrew Luck and the Indianapolis Colts. Brandon, what are your thoughts on this AFC North versus South matchup?
Well, I am one of the very questionable people when it comes to Andrew Luck. I'm not sure how he's going to do coming back. I know LaRock has said it many times to me in the Cover 3 podcast. This kid threw for almost 5,000 yards 2 seasons ago when he was actually healthy. That's great. That's wonderful. But he's still got a lot left to prove. You can't throw him in the elites. And he's had, one season to his name where he was actually healthy? That shoulder, he hasn't touched a football in 2 years. I am very skeptical. Their defense is god awful. And the only two things that they have to them is T.Y. Hilton, and they have Jack Doyle as their tight end. I still think Cincinnati's defense is up there in the top 15. I think if Luck comes out there firing, great, fantastic. But I still think that Cincy wins a close one with this one with that godforsaken Andy Dalton quarterback.
Okay.
But
strong feelings.
I don't have no faith in Luck. I just don't. I have to see it.
Okay. Jeremy?
I'm not happy with Cincinnati because they had an opportunity to give my boy the starting position, and then they traded him. And I was like, all right, Buffalo's going to do the right thing. Then Buffalo fucking traded him. And
he went to Oakland.
Now he's in Oakland. I'm sure he'll be in fucking Minnesota next week. I mean, so I'm giving up on A.J. McCarron ever being a starting quarterback in the NFL. Not that I ever thought he would be, but behind, Andy Dalton, who I think is a solid quarterback. But I just feel like Andy Dalton's never going to be the guy that's going to get you to the promised land. He just isn't. He's just always going to be the guy who might get you into the playoffs, maybe, and that's it. But with that said, going into this game, I think Andrew Luck is overrated as hell. Andrew Luck is this guy that it's like these people that are a fan of Andrew Luck, like it's all the way back to college, and I don't understand it. Like I get it why the media wants to hype up Jimmy G. He's a good-looking dude. He's got the look. You can market him. Andrew Luck looks like a fucking lumberjack. Like why do people in love with this guy? Like why? Like he almost sounds like Alex Jones when he talks. Like why are people so in love with this dude? He's a neckbeard.
That is a real random comparison. But okay.
Like it's so.
And not to mention he's as made of glass as Colt McCoy was.
Yeah, like I don't understand this love affair with Andrew Luck. Going back to Stanford, they were saying he's the most pro-ready quarterback since John Elway. Like it was off the charts, and I was just like, I don't see it.
He had a fucking cakewalk at Stanford. Who else plays in the Pac-12?
I know. He had no defenses that he played against. You know what I mean? Like, great, he scored a high wonder lick. Who cares? You know what I mean? Like, so I'm sick of Andrew Luck. Again, do I think he's a bad quarterback? Absolutely not. Do I think he has top 10 talent? Absolutely. I think he's borderline top 10 talent. I do know that he is surrounded by a shitty team. And that's fine. You know what I mean? A lot of people surrounded by shitty teams. So I think Indy's going to be crap this year. I would say Indy's probably going to be 6-10 this year. They're not going to be very good. And so I think Cincinnati definitely has the better defense. They have a better surrounding cast for their quarterback. I don't think that Andy Dalton's a better quarterback straight up against Andrew Luck, but I think that Andy Dalton has a better surrounding cast around him. Cincinnati takes this game. And Indy's going to have a terrible season. Colin Cowherd and David LaRock and ESPN, they're all going to make excuses for why Andrew Luck sucks again. You know what I mean? Who was that quarterback that took over for Luck a few years ago and they were actually better? Who was that?
Jacoby Brissett.
No, not Brissett, although Jacoby Brissett, New England boy. But no, it was a few years ago. Was it Hasselbeck or whatever?
I think it was Hasselbeck, actually.
Yeah, and like
because he was better, which was crazy because he was like 87 years old at that point.
Right, and he had better stats than Luck. On Luck's team, they were winning. And I'm just like, what do you say to this? Because this has been this whole thing. Andrew Luck's not surrounded with proper talent. And then, there comes Hasselbeck, 88-year-old Hasselbeck in a wheelchair, literally got up out of a wheelchair, had to have his back popped, and he's out there being more productive than Andrew Luck.
And hitting T.Y. on the fly.
Yeah,
that was the funniest thing. When he hit T.Y. on a wide-open go route, and Luck, they showed that exact play, and Luck missed it by 5 yards, underthrew him. That was the prettiest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, so I'm
88 years old slinging it.
I'm done. I'm done with Andrew Luck. When he has one good game in this year, it's going to be like the heavens are going to open. Like I told you guys, because he has one good game.
Coward's not going to shut up.
Yes. Oh, my God. I'm sick of it. So, Cincy, easily. Andy Dalton, MVP.
I'm astonished. I'm astonished that neither one of you guys brought up the most pressing point and the only point I'm going to make about this matchup and about these two franchises in general. Marvin Lewis still has a job.
He has dirt on every bit of his
like
Cincinnati.
He
has something accurate everywhere. That's the only way he's staying there because it's not by Andy Dalton.
It took a solid 16 years for Jeff Fisher's washed-up, crusty ass to lose his job. And he probably had nude photos of someone. So if it took that long for Jeff Fisher to get fired, what kind of dirt does Marvin Lewis have? Because I don't think it's Social Security numbers anymore. I think he has, like, nuclear launch codes or some kind of shit.
He has to.
Ain't no way in hell you're going to let a team with this kind of talent, particularly on defense, just completely unravel every time they even sniff the postseason. Like,
True.
No. But, yeah, that's all I got for that. Indianapolis, their roster is terrible. They're going to get their faces punched in. Yep. And last but not least, to go ahead and round out our matchups in the AFC, the Pittsburgh Steelers against the extremely intriguing, extremely aggressive over the course of the offseason. No, I'm not joking. The post-LeBron Cleveland Browns. You have Tyrod, not Tyrod, Tyrod Taylor, and number 1 draft pick Baker Mayfield with Jarvis Landry and Jamie Collins, former New England Patriot, and a bunch of other pieces, solid players that they acquired in the offseason, going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers, even without Le'Veon Bell, arguably have the most explosive offense in the entire league outside of maybe the Atlanta Falcons. How do we feel about the resurgent Browns, the Browns trying to get things going, trying to right the ship from going 1-31 over the last 2 seasons versus the default AFC North winners, the Pittsburgh Steelers? Brandon?
Hot take. Cleveland wins their second one in 3 seasons, damn it.
Really?
They are going to take week 1.
Really?
Reason why I said, don't act like that. Look, let me explain.
I mean, I'm yawning. I'm half asleep, but I'm still – you just woke me up. So
no Le'Veon Bell. You got Antonio Brown on the Madden cover. We know the curse is real. Ask New England.
Wow.
Let me say this.
Brady won the MVP. And he set a Super Bowl record.
And you didn't win the damn bowl.
Yeah, well, that's because of Belichick's old
and Patricia.
Let him finish. Let him finish.
So you got Juju is your only chance because Antonio Brown, something's going to happen to him. Do I want it to happen? No. And something's going to happen at some point, and maybe he'll air something on damn Facebook Live again and get busted. But that defense doesn't impress me. You got Tyrod Taylor. You got Josh Gordon. They did reinstate him. He is going to play week 1. Jarvis Landry. Njoku at tight end is going to do numbers against this Pittsburgh defense. Not to mention you got a 1-2 punch. They have named the depth chart of week 1. It is Carlos Hyde at running back. It is Johnson being in there to spell him out. Nick Chubb, they come to terms. He is going to be the 3rd down running back. He is going to be the bowl over running back, which I love. The defense on the other side of the ball, that defense for Cleveland is just going to be in Big Ben's face. I am so excited. Y'all can call me crazy, but when it comes out week 1 and Cleveland wins, it will be a close game, albeit, but Cleveland is going to win week 1, and it's going to give that city something else to be happy about, damn it. LeBron left, boo-hoo. Cleveland's coming back up, damn it.
Okay, Jeremy?
Is this the bold prediction show, or is this because Nick Chubb's on the Browns now? Is that it?
No.
That's what it is. That's what it is. It's Nick Chubb.
No, it's not. Look, my homer showed up a little bit in there, but damn it, no. This is because Pittsburgh is overrated. I hate Big Ben with a passion.
Oh, I do too. I don't.
Not that kind of a quarterback. And the moment if he ever gets injured, because we know he's prone to do, if he ever gets injured, they cut Dobbs. All right. Or no, excuse me, they didn't cut Dobbs. They cut Landry. They made Dobbs the number 2. I'm telling you, if he ever gets hurt and Mason Rudolph ever gets a chance, Mason Rudolph will take that starting job from him, and he will not come back to it. I have high hopes for Mason Rudolph, but I cannot stand Big Ben, and I cannot stand Pittsburgh's organization. And even in Week 6 when we face them, Xavier Patterson, sorry, buddy, we're going to take that one too.
All right.
Man, dropping bombs. Yeah, so no, Cleveland's not going to win. I want to, like, I can't figure Baker Mayfield out yet, and I don't even know. Has it been announced that he's going to start, or is he not starting?
They haven't announced it yet. They're going to leave it to a game-time decision between him and Tyrod.
Okay. I can't figure Baker Mayfield out. I don't know what he's going to be in the NFL. Obviously I watched him last year. I can't figure him out. I can't make a determination of if he's going to be good or not. And I typically can do that with college quarterbacks. I can definitely come up with a definitive decision. I can't do it with Baker. I don't know what to expect from him. I'm shocked that he was the number 1 pick overall with the baggage he brings. But, his height his height is a concern because he doesn't have the mobility of a Russell Wilson or something like that. So
Johnny Football 2.0.
Yeah, but he does work. But the difference between him and Johnny is that at least he does have the size, whereas Johnny Football is like a toothpick out there. So anyway, I don't know how to determine if Baker's going to be good or not. But it's Cleveland, first of all. That's all you really got to know. It's Cleveland. They're not
suck the air right out of them.
They're not going to beat Pittsburgh. I don't like Mike Tomlin. I don't like Pittsburgh. I don't like Antonio Brown. I don't like Big Ben. But I've had to own this mistake. For years I said Julio was the best receiver in the NFL, and he's not. Antonio Brown's the best receiver in the NFL. I've had to own that. I don't like owning that. Trust me. But at some point, and you're talking about the elites right there. So when you make small mistakes in big moments, which Julio's made just a few, but that's all it takes when it's that tough. I think Antonio Brown's the best receiver in the NFL. I hate him. I can't stand him. I don't like his attitude. He's a diva. His live streaming bullshit. He runs his mouth. I don't like him at all. Big Ben, I'm not even going to mention the obvious reasons why I hate Big Ben. But he likes to rape people. But I'm not going to mention it. I'm not going to mention it. And with Big Ben, I'm just right. And I'm going to say it like this, okay? You go back to the Kobe situation, okay? If anybody believes Kobe Bryant has to rape any woman, you're not operating upstairs. Now you see Big Ben, you're like, he'd probably have to rape a woman, So I get it, Big Ben, fuck off with Big Ben and his bullshit. So anyway, I don't like Big Ben. I don't like them. I don't like Mike Tomlin, but it's Cleveland, bro. It's Cleveland. They're going to smack them around. They're going to. Do I think Cleveland has the potential to have a good season? Yes. But you, Brandon, you're kind of talking about, like, it sounds like you were doing like a season-long thing. Like, you think Antonio Brown is cursed for this particular game?
No, season-wise, I is where
because you're like, something's going to happen. I'm like, yeah, but we're talking about one game, so.
Okay, all right, I see where you're coming from on that. No, not one game. No, let me clarify on that. But I just – Cleveland, to me, they have on paper, outside of the 3 Bs, the killer bees in Pittsburgh, to me, they have the better roster. To me. I may be wrong. I may come back and say, hey, head between my legs, I'm sorry. But I don't think that Pittsburgh going into Cleveland as the resurgency that they've made in the offseason is going to be able to stop Cleveland's momentum. Let me go ahead and weigh in, fellas, because I see both of the angles you guys are presenting. Here's where I'm at with Pittsburgh, not just pertaining to this game, but as a whole. The fact that Pittsburgh has been to 1 Super Bowl over the course of the last, 8 or 9 years, with the amount of talent that they have and have had on that roster, yep,
is absolutely criminal. Now we know that Rooney family, they're not prisoners of a moment. They don't have a recency bias. They don't fire coaches after every little mishap, and that's understood. But Mike Tomlin, a guy that in many instances I do like, and a guy who kind of echoes rhetoric that I think makes sense in certain moments, but from a strategic play calling standpoint, this dude has been criminally bad within the last few years. You lose a shootout at home in the playoffs in
Blake Bortles.
Cold northern climate to Blake Bortles and a team from a hot, humid climate. Now, Jacksonville last year, they were very talented. That defense was and is absolutely amazing. But you still got a bunch of Southern boys going up to cold-ass Pennsylvania, and you give up 42 points? That's the other aspect about Pittsburgh that nobody seems to want to address. Yes, the offense is amazing. We all know that. But defensively, what's the name of that one safety in Pittsburgh who was guaranteeing that they were going to go to New England and that they would beat them in New England and beat them in hell and beat them on the moon and beat them on Mars and all that
Mike
shit?
Mitchell?
What was his name? Mike Mitchell.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, granted, I did like Mike Mitchell's rant where he talked about, defensive rules and he called Matt Hasselbeck an asshole. That part I loved. But Mike Mitchell, former Raider, and the rest of that secondary, them boys were sorry all year long. What leads any of us to believe that defensively on the back end, Pittsburgh is going to be any better this year? When New England comes into town in December, I can't help but shake the feeling that it's just going to be the same old story. Tom Brady walk-off touchdown with like 1.2 milliseconds left, and they lose. You mentioned Pittsburgh versus Atlanta, Brandon. That, to me, is what the Super Bowl 51 matchup should have been. And by all accounts, it probably should be the matchup for Super Bowl 53 coming up. But it ain't going to shock me if Pittsburgh finds a way to mess it up. Will they beat Cleveland? Yep. Yes, they'll beat Cleveland. And they'll probably go 11-5 or 12-4. But as far as them getting past New England, I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
That's it. Well, ladies and gents, this is the part where we're going to kind of wrap things up in terms of our week one thoughts, predictions, feelings. Of course, we have more content on the way. We definitely have more college football content on the way. Gentlemen, do we have any shout-outs?
I just want to give a shout out to everybody here in the Sports Wars community. I'm looking forward to this channel growing. We've got a lot going on. Obviously, the main channel, the Geeks and Gamers channel, is doing very well. We're going to try to, mirror some of that success over on here. It's football season. There's going to be a lot of different content, a lot of different names and faces you're going to see on this channel. It's not just going to be me. It's not just going to be Pat. It's going to be a lot of us, and we all have different opinions. We cheer for different teams, and we are going to approach things in a very different way, and that's what's going to make Sports Wars great. Is it's not defined by one single individual, but it's defined by all of us coming together and having our different opinions. And trust me, if you get sensitive with some shit talking with sports, this is not the place for you. If you don't want somebody to tell you that your team sucks and to fuck off, this is not the place for you. This is not flag football. This is grown ass man tackle football. We don't call bullshit targeting penalties around here. So, but yeah. But I'm looking forward to it though. It's football season. Weather's going to start cooling off very soon. I can't fucking wait. So, and pretty soon I'm going to be meeting Pat Brumfield for the first time. Probably next month I'll be in the California area. And he and I'll have to do a live stream together. That'll be a lot of fun. So.
Oh, yeah. Brandon, shout-outs?
Yeah, I got a couple shout-outs. First things first, shout-out to Sports Wars community, Geeks and Gamers. Everybody, y'all are fantastic. Just keep doing what you're doing. Any new subscribers, hey, best of luck to you because we ain't nice about your damn teams. Secondly, shout out to you, Jeremy. You went this whole episode not saying one good thing about fucking Atlanta, so fuck you on that. And third, special shout out to newcomer to the Georgia Bulldogs, James Cook, Dalvin Cook's little brother. This kid is an explosive running back, has very good ability. This is the only also same motherfucker that I know that can get sentenced to be ejected for the rest of the game with 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter for a targeting attack on Austin Peace, return man, and now he's ejected for the South Carolina game. Way to go, buddy.
My shout-outs, I want to give a shout-out to the Philadelphia Lincoln Field security because there are going to be some pretty raucous Eagles fans there come Thursday night. I want to give a shout-out to the Denver Broncos fan base and how classy they are for starting a GoFundMe account to buy out Paxton Lynch's contract and booing the shit out of him during a preseason game that meant absolutely nothing.
Wow.
I want to shout out.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I was going to add.
I want to shout out Demaryius Thomas just for being overrated as fuck and trash, and he's probably going to get locked up by Garyon Conley when we match up. And I want to give a shout out to our fearless leader Jeremy, because contrary to all the bullshit, contrary to what certain other individuals on the internet say about him, he gives us all a platform here. He's not a pussy who's afraid of differing opinions. Although, Jeremy, I do have to get on you about some shit, bruh.
Oh, shit.
You know I've been watching these live streams and whatnot, right, bruh? All of this, well, you know, Alabama's on my hat. You know, everyone thinks I'm in my 20s. Everyone thinks I look, 24 or 25. I'm so young and ravishing. Man, you don't get the fuck out of here with that shit.
I'm telling you, that's what people say. They don't. They're like, they just like, you can't be 39. I'm 39, bro. I'm 39. I grew up in the 80s. I'm old enough to remember when they actually played football without calling a fucking flag every 30 seconds. Somebody wrong. I remember and I got a video I'm going to be making for Sports Force soon. I'm going to talk about bandwagon fans and how, in my opinion, I don't think that there's a such thing as bandwagon fans anymore. When I was growing up, you could say that, but right now, no. Again, they exist. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is because people always say, like, "Where are you from?" Oh, you can't cheer for that team because you're not from there. The way the media has changed, like you can watch any NFL football team from anywhere in the country now. When I was growing up, you couldn't do that. You know what I mean? Like you had to be, if you were a local person in Alabama or Georgia, like you were watching the Falcons. So you couldn't watch other teams. You know what I mean? So now a lot of these people are growing up and they have access to every single game. You see ESPN's airing Oregon games and USC. I never saw Oregon and USC or any West Coast college football teams ever. The only team I saw outside of the Southern region, I remember when I was young, was Penn State, when Alabama played times. You know what I mean? So now I feel like everything is so accessible now, you know what I mean? And it's taken, and again, I don't like that necessarily, the reason I don't have a pro team per se is because I didn't really have anything to connect me to the Falcons. I mean, I grew up in Alabama. We didn't have a pro team in Alabama. So I never really followed a pro team. I always followed the players from college because I grew up as a college football fan. So when players would move on from college, I would follow them. My first favorite player ever that made it to the NFL was Bobby Humphrey from Alabama. And he played for the Denver Broncos. They went to the Super Bowl. And I had his jersey. I worshiped Bobby Humphrey. And then Bobby Humphrey started worshiping drugs. And then Bobby Humphrey wasn't in the NFL no more. So I was like, well, fuck. So I liked the Broncos
real quick.
Yeah, I liked the Broncos for a little while after that. But then I lost my desire to pull for them because Bobby Humphrey wasn't there anymore. You know what I mean? So, but the way that things have changed, I feel like it's changed fandom. And people don't just grow up with that hometown feeling as much anymore as they used to when I was younger. Does that make sense? You guys see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
because
definitely.
People have access they have access to every single game now. Pat, growing up, you didn't have access to every single football game. It's not to say it would change your fandom, but you grew up in the Bay Area and it was like ride or die with the Raiders. Period. That's all you saw. That's all you cared about. You know what I mean? But a lot of people grow up with different access to different teams, and they say, "Oh, you know what? I like watching the Seahawks, even though I live in Georgia or something." You know what I mean? So that's the point I'm trying to make. So, yeah, I heard that.
And you make a compelling point, and it definitely is a different era. However, that doesn't change the fact that despite what your fans say, I say this with love, you look like a good, young, rugged, maybe 34 at the most.
I'm okay with that.
Still shaves 5 years off of him.
Yeah, I heard that. Oh, by the way, to the point I was going to make is Denver fans, Denver fans.
Oh, God.
Karma, motherfuckers. You had a quarterback. You had a quarterback who could take you to the playoffs. You had a quarterback that came in and saved the day, okay? And then what happened? John Elway had a good young quarterback that was going to keep him relevant for the next 10 to 15 years. And what did John Elway? John Elway saw a sugar daddy. He's like, ooh, Peyton can give me a cheap thrill for a year. And that's exactly what happened. And now you're fucked. And you deserve it. You deserve it. Tim Tebow winning you championships right now, but you fuckers got rid of him. And hey, he didn't go with get a lawsuit against NFL like other quarterbacks. But we're not going to talk about that right now. So.
Hey, I do have one more shout out.
That was
this one's more recent news. So shout out to the Buffalo Bills. You trade away AJ McCarron to the Oakland Raiders, only for you to claim Paxton Lynch off of fucking waivers. You thought that there was fucking table bomb or power bombs through tables and shit beforehand. Now you have Paxton Lynch in that motherfucker. I can't wait to see the brawls that go on in Buffalo's parking lot this season.
Wow.
Great.
Well, ladies and gents, that's all we got for you. We're going to wrap this thing up. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let your friends know that there's a shit-talking, non-sugar-coated podcast out there for NFL for them to consume. We will catch you all later. Go Raiders, and I'm going to go put my Nikes on.